Thanks for joining us on Plus TV Africa. My name is Felicity Ezewike. We start the news from Nigeria, where President Muhammadu Buhari has returned to the capital, Abuja, after 10 working days holiday in London. The president arrived at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, at about 6:38 p.m. yesterday. On his arrival, the president wrote a letter to the two arms of the legislature, the Senate and the House of Representatives, informing them of his return and resumption of duties as president and commander-in-chief upon the completion of his leave. The People's Democratic Party, the PDP, Akwa Ibom State chapter, has written to the Senate through its publicity secretary, Mr. Ini Emelbong, demanding the immediate declaration of the seat of the Senate. Senator representing Akwa Ibom North-West Senatorial District, Godswill Akpabio, vacant. Akpabio was, until his defection and resignation, the Senate minority leader before his defection to the All Progressive Congress (APC). Former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo and Goodluck Jonathan on Saturday mourned the late Kofi Annan. Annan, who was a former Secretary General of the United Nations (UN), died on Saturday at the age of 80 in a Swiss hospital. The former president, Olusegun, describes him as a global statesman who dedicated his life to equity, justice, stability, security, human rights, and other virtues that promote world peace. Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, on his part, said he was a renowned icon of peace and a great son of Africa. In separate statements, they both highlighted the positive impact he had on international relations and his extensive reforms that reinvigorated the UN systems. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. We continue with the news on the hour. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has just declared the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Honorable Garba Ajiya, winner of Saturday's by-election into Tankum One State constituency. The returning officer for the election, Dr. Ayuba Daniel, announced this, saying out of 73,183 voters registered in the constituency, only 16,671 voters accredited and voted. Taraba State Resident Electoral Commissioner Baba Abba Yusuf, who describes the election as a successful and peaceful one. However, the State Secretary of the All Progressive Congress, Pastor Stephen Otaniel, said the APC was intimidated into the election, which he said was marred by ballot box snatching and vote buying. Still in elections, the Resident Electoral Commissioner REC in Rivers, Mr. Obo Efanga, has announced the suspension of the by-election for the Port Harcourt Constituency 4 State Assembly seat, which held on Saturday, the 18th of August in the state. In a statement on Saturday night, he cited widespread violence as reason for the suspension. Mr. Obo explained that because the exercise was marred by widespread violence, it was suspended in accordance with Section 26 of the Electoral Act 2010. It did not give a new date for the by-election. The by-election was conducted by INEC to fill the vacancy left by former State Assemblyman Mr. Victor Ihuo, now Chairman, Port Harcourt City Local Government Area. Still on the Independent Electoral Commission, the police in Akwa Ibom State has rescued an employee of the commission, Mr. Otobong Ukbong, who was kidnapped on the 5th of June on his way to work. Commissioner of Police in the state, Mr. Adeyemi Ogunjemilusi, who announced the rescue in Uyo on Saturday, said a minor and 7 others were also rescued. The INEC worker, Mr. Ukbong, said he was kept in the bush and fed once a day by his abductors. With the elections upon us, we have seen many politicians vying for different positions. Women in Nigeria have unfortunately not seen a rise in that aspect. It is in the glass ceiling syndrome. All society isn't just yet prepared for the shift. Plus TV Africa's Amaka Okoye is at a women forum with a focus on governance and files in this report.
As the 2019 elections draw near, the political space is charged with politicians, both old and new, seeking political positions. But what is yet not common is the ratio of women to men competing for political positions. African Women in Governance is a group championing the cause of women to seek political positions and aspire more.
We have a life skills development where we teach women critical skills. That's where the mentorship program actually comes up, the African Women in Governance. Because we found out that empowerment was not enough. Economic empowerment was not enough. Women need to be able to take decisions in every aspect of their life. We want to encourage women to be fully participatory in governance in the country and Africa. They should take part, they should participate, not just by voting, but by contesting for electoral positions.
The Beijing Platform for Action, prescribed by the International Women's Conference in 1985, affirms that every country should aim for at least 35% of women representation in politics. But sadly, Nigeria has not achieved 5% in that aspect. It means a lot still needs to be done to give women more room for participation in politics. It does appear that a huge and overwhelming representation of women at most political rallies has not transformed to increased opportunities for women to contest elections.
Now, what has been hampering women in our climb? Culture. That's number one. Then number two, the ability of the men folk to recognize that it's a changed world and that we have as more competent men and women. The only thing, again, that women have not got is opportunities.
Nigeria has recorded the worst performance in terms of women participation in politics and electoral processes. According to the Global Gender Gap Index data of World Economic Forum, the country was ranked 135th out of 144 countries. The index measures the gap between men and women at the highest level of political decision-making through the ratio of women to men in ministerial and parliamentary positions.
Personally, I think politics in Nigeria is not structured. In a country like Nigeria, women will struggle when it gets to politics.
As the country approaches elections in 2019, women are hoping that the government tackles all the obstacles on their path to allow for more women in both elective and appointive positions. Amaka Okoye, Plus TV Africa.
It is no longer business as usual, as more Nigerian women are taking initiative, pioneering new lines of business and pushing boundaries. A new crop of female business leaders are rising to the zenith of their careers by dint of hard work, resilience and determination, which in most climes are peculiar to the male folks.
In some African societies, women are often overlooked in terms of leading positions and participation in activities generally perceived as manly. At the 2018 Boss Lady Conference, top female players in the business world share insights on how they broke barriers in their various fields of engagement to challenge women to step up from their traditional supporting roles to leading positions.
There's infrastructural issues. There are also issues around regulation and things like that, government regulation, policy, tax, for instance, things like that as well. But I think the biggest issue is really being able to navigate the system.
Nigeria is the leading economy in Africa, but more often than not, women are not totally involved in the business revolution.
Women bring in those values, they bring in their intuition into the businesses they do.
The leading keynote speaker at Miss America 2004, Erica Dunlap, and other speakers in their separate comments agree that women can deal differently in business environments.
It's important to be ambitious because, in my view, it shows that a man has even more value when his wife, as it says in Proverbs 31, a woman of high value and high calling, she goes out and she makes sure that her family is taken care of. She is constantly focused on what she's bringing in and not just what she's creating at home, but also what she's bringing to the table and how she's making the home a more noble place.
As a person, if you go into a business or an industry and it's not working, it doesn't mean you have to jump out of it. At least you need to give it time and you need to understand what you're not doing right, and you need to look at people who's done it and gotten it right and what they did differently.
And you can only do this by joining global communities. And this way, you know, when people like what Ruth Kadiri said inside, when people come and approach you to do things, and what Dr. Olakunrin said, you can always say no. You can decide for yourself that you're not going to do it. You're not going to bend your values because you know who you are.
For organizers and participants at the event, it was a worthwhile experience.
When you meet one-on-one with the women you've been looking up to who have already made it, the established women, and you think they did magic, they had to do some magic to get to the point of accomplishment. But when you meet them here and hear them speak, talk about their struggles coming up and growing to where they are today, you then discover that they are just as ordinary as you.
It's really a fantastic event. Yeah, I got free money, $100, and I learned how to manage my time. Don't ask for permission.
And I'm so happy and excited I'm here.
Oh, the experience has been very, very nice. I'm very happy to be here.
It has been amazing. I've learned so much from people.
Ife Arona for Plus TV Africa.
Ghana has declared a week-long mourning period for the former UN chief Kofi Annan. Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo, in a statement on Saturday, described Annan as a consummate diplomat and said he was deeply saddened by the news of his death. The president directed that the country's flag be flown at half-mast across the country and in all of Ghana's diplomatic missions across the world for 1 week starting on Monday. According to him, Annan brought considerable recognition to Ghana by his position and through his conduct and comportment in the global arena. Cyprus has handed over to Cairo an Egyptian man who hijacked an airliner in the island in 2016 using a fake explosive belt. Egypt's state prosecutor said on Saturday after a court ruling cleared the way for his extradition. The prosecutor said in a statement that Saif Eddin Mustafa was handed over to an Egyptian Interpol team in Cairo after Cairo provided assurance that he would face legal proceedings that conform to international standards. Madagascar's President Hairy Rajaonarimampianina will seek re-election in the November poll. He made the announcement on Friday at a hotel in the capital, Antananarivo, flanked by his family members. Ruling party HVM leaders and supporters were also present. The president also filed his bid with a high constitutional court thereafter. He said he will build on his Fisandra-Tana 2030, meaning emergence and renaissance during his second term if re-elected. When we return, we'll bring you more news. To stay with us. 29-year-old Sally Carter from Birmingham has been charged with attempted murder after he crashed his car into the House of Parliament. The UK national, originally from Sudan, is alleged to have swerved his car into cyclists and pedestrians on August 14. A spokesperson for the Met Police says the case is being treated as terrorism due to the location, methodology and alleged targeting of civilians and police officers. The accused is to appear in custody at Westminster Magistrate Court on Monday, August the 20th. The Indonesian island of Lombok has been shaken by another strong earthquake with a measured 6.3 magnitude after weeks of tremors that have killed more than 476 people. Sunday's quake caused landslides, but it is not known if there are any casualties. Residents said the tremor was felt strongly to the east of the island and sent people running out onto the streets. The island has since July 29 been rocked by hundreds of quakes and tremors. The death toll from Muslim floods in Kerala reached 357 on Sunday, with hundreds of thousands made homeless and officials warning about outbreak of disease. The disaster prompted a response from the UAE, where a large section of the Indian expatriate population is from Kerala. The President Sheikh Khalifa formed an emergency committee led by the Emirates Red Crescent to organize relief assistance, while Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, Vice President and ruler of Dubai, said the UAE and the Indian community would unite to offer help. Israel has closed its only pedestrian border crossing with the Gaza Strip following deadly protest and clashes that left 2 Palestinians dead and scores of others injured. It is unclear how long the closure will last. Israel's Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman announced on Sunday that the pedestrian border crossing between Israel and Gaza had been closed. The Erez crossing in the northern Gaza Strip would, however, remain open for humanitarian cases, journalists and aid workers, a spokeswoman for GOGAT, Israel's chief liaison office with the Palestinians, added. Up next will be your business reports. Don't go away. Activities of the fixed income and currency market has recorded a nosedive month-on-month in July. The turnover plunged about 24% according to reports from FMDQ OTC Securities, which stood at 13.09 trillion naira against the 17.23 trillion naira in June. There was a widespread decline across all segments of the FIC market, except the buybacks market, which had a 5.22% MOM increase in July. Also, the foreign exchange and treasury bill segments were major drivers of turnover in the FIC market, accounting for 74.26% of total turnover in July, but had a 5.09% drop. However, general activities in the market remained high, with a 1.56 trillion naira increase year-on-year within the period under review. Some investors at the Lagos Deep Offshore Logistics Base, Ladol Free Zone, are still worried about the cost of operations at the zone and have requested for a more pragmatic and lasting solution, given their huge investment portfolio in the area. They say the move will not only encourage investors operating in the zone, but will also guarantee federal government commitment to giving existing and would-be investors the needed assurance and protection. They are calling for a milder business atmosphere, which they said will drive returns on their investments. Still in business, the African Export-Import Bank disbursed a total of $422 million loans in 6 months, according to data from its financial statement for the half-year period ended 30th June 2018. The figure represents a 5.07% increase in its loan disbursement as of December 2017. The financial statement also showed a gross revenue of $343 million, which amounted to a $21 million increase over the gross revenue for the same period in 2017. The report attributed the higher gross revenue to a significant increase in fee income by 119%, while interest and similar income recorded a 2% growth compared to the prior year performance. Still ahead on Plus TV Africa News is a roundup on sports. We'll be back in a moment.
Hello and welcome to Sport Update on Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoko. Starting off with boxing, Tyson Fury has vowed that he will knock out WBC World Heavyweight Champion Deontay Wilder as the bout was confirmed in the aftermath of Fury's dominant win over Francisco Pianeta. And for Tyson Fury, he won all 10 rounds to secure a points win over Pianeta in Belfast. And Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder exchanged words as Fury's promoter Frank Warren said the bout was official and also added more details would be made public in the next week. And Wilder said Fury would experience being knocked out for the first time, and the prospect of a bout between the two of them seemed close in January 2016 when they clashed in the ring following Wilder's victory over Poland's Arthur Szpilka. But Fury did not fight again until June this year, and taking on such a formidable opponent so quickly after his time away seemed unlikely until talks gathered momentum in recent weeks. And for Tyson Fury, who showed sharp movement and focus throughout his win over Pianeta, has secured the fight after drawn-out and ultimately unsuccessful negotiations between Wilder and WBA, IBF and WBO champion Anthony Joshua.
Where are we in terms of those negotiations?
Are we ready now? This fight we are having is on. This is on. This fight is official. It's on, baby. Y'all get ready. This is what we've been waiting for right here. The best fighting the best.
So you've said that the fight is on. When and where will the fight take place?
It will
all will be revealed next week. Wait till next week. But the fight is on.
Expecting the very best from Anthony Joshua, of course, and Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Switching over to tennis, Novak Djokovic will attempt to become the first player to win all 9 Masters 1000 tournaments when he faces Roger Federer in today's Cincinnati Masters final. And Djokovic, who is a 5-time runner-up at the event, needed just 2 hours and 32 minutes to beat Marin Cilic 6-4, 3-6, 6-3 in his semifinal, while Federer's opponent, David Goffin, retired with a shoulder injury. And for Federer, a 7-time champion in Cincinnati, will be playing in his 150th final, and the 37-year-old world number 2 is looking for his 99th win. And for Djokovic, he leads their head-to-head statistics 23-22, but Federer has won all 3 of their Cincinnati final meetings. Looking forward to that big one later today between Federer and Novak Djokovic. With as much you can take on Sport Update on Plus TV Africa, I am Udoka Njoku.
Thanks, Udoka. And that's our news roundup of events at this hour. For more news updates, please follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do as well subscribe to our YouTube page at Plus TV Africa. We'll be back later with stories making the headlines. To join us again. My name is Felicity Ezewike. Enjoy the rest of your day.